Hi guys, and welcome to the Afternoon Talks with Alex. In this type of videos, we are getting real, we're getting deeply into topics, and we're getting to know each other better. So the topic of today is something I'm personally feeling very associated with, and I believe you're gonna find yourself there as well, which is having this fear, which is having this blame towards our past and wishing that we did something that we didn't do. It's this kind of thinking, if I actually started doing something a few years ago, I wouldn't be where I am today. Or, if I never met that person, I wouldn't be heartbroken now, for example. And I believe you can come up with many, many more examples. We're going to also touch upon them later. But for the moment, I have a tea today. Surprise. So we're gonna be sipping tea and discussing serious topics. Now let's get started. Okay, so I'm a little bit out of breath because I've been running around quite a lot today already. It's only 11 a.m. And I've done a lot, honestly. However, I am still feeling like I could have done so much more. And I'm challenging myself a lot. I know I could more, but this is exactly what I want to talk about. So I have a feeling that the more I am doing, the less satisfied I actually am with myself, which is kind of crazy, right? Like, the more you are doing, the more you are moving forward towards whatever goal you set for yourself. Whether it's small, whether it's big, you are taking those steps on a daily basis. However, with me, if I'm just denying this reality that, I have so much stuff to do, if I'm just completely ignoring them, I'm feeling kind of happy with myself. I mean, there is this deep feeling deep down that I am not moving towards my purpose, that I'm not feeling fulfilled, but it's easier to ignore because it's a one particular feeling. On the other hand, if I'm having so many things to do because I'm actually trying to push myself to move forward, move fast towards my goal, I kind of realize finally how many things I actually need to work on, and that puts me down. This amount of things, the more things I need to do, the more anxiety I have. So it's much more difficult to control, and therefore I'm feeling less happy and satisfied with myself. Actually, I wouldn't say happy because I'm feeling much happier, but less satisfied. I still feel like I could do more. And I think many of you can relate to it, that whatever thing we're doing, I said already that in my last episode, whatever thing humans are doing, they always feel like they're too good to be doing this, that they should have done this so long time ago. And there's 1,000 other things they should be doing now or could be doing now. And this leads us to another point of this episode. Like, wherever you are now, look at your situation in life. I'm looking at mine, you look at yours. So you're analyzing the moment, the position you are at this very moment in life, whether it's in terms of career, relationships, hobby, business, that could be anything. So you're looking at it and you're thinking back to your past. Like, you remember those 2 years ago? If I finally signed up myself for that course, those 2 years ago, I had such a great opportunity, but for example, I chose to go on holiday. And the reason for not doing something that is bothering us now might be either very big or very small. Okay? So if it's very small and looks very meaningless, like if you look back at the very moment of making the decision, you didn't even think about consequences. You didn't think about how relevant that choice might be. So, for example, so you know what I'm talking about. For example, you got invited to a restaurant with your friends, and with friends you're usually going for a pizza, let's say. And you were actually at that moment trying to get to eat more healthy, but because you were so overworked and so tired, you just didn't even think about your health at that very moment. You just really wanted to socialize, okay? Whereas the other side of the spectrum is, let's take the same situation, that you actually did think about consequences that evening with your friends might have. You know, there's gonna be pizza, cheese, carbs, alcohol probably, and it's not beneficial on your journey that you're have embarked on some time ago. So these are two different situations, right? Because first, you didn't even realize what consequences your choice might have. And second one, you actually did think about it. Now, I'm often wondering in which type of these situations later on in life we are feeling more, we're feeling like we're blaming more our past. Because, you know, it's easy to blame something after you can see what consequences it might have had. But in that very moment when you didn't even see, can you actually blame yourself? Like, we humans, I always say, we're trying to make the best decisions with all the information we have at this very moment. Of course, in 10 years, you might say that whatever you were thinking when you were younger was bullshit, sorry for the expression. But at that moment, you didn't know. It goes the same way when you were, for example, fighting with parents, or when you had some maybe eating disorder when you were younger. And now looking back, you might be thinking, how could I have done this? Like, even reading through articles, for example, right? You're reading through these articles today just for the sake of how my perspective has changed, yeah? You want to check because you remember you were reading the same or at least similar articles back then when the situation was happening, let's say with that eating disorder, because you were trying to understand why, right? You were trying to understand why you're doing what you're doing. You were not feeling okay with it anymore, and you were trying to find a solution to get out of it. And the best way to change something, get out of something, is to first of all change your mindset. So you need to understand. You need to understand why you're doing what you're doing and why it's harmful for you. So you're reading these articles back then and you're reading them now, and you realize that you are consuming the same information, that the article is pointing at exactly the same things. However, now you're just kind of reading it very easily. It's like, yeah, of course, that makes sense. And like, yes, of course, I've been doing it. But wow, I haven't seen it back then. Because that's because your knowledge now and the person you are, okay, the knowledge is bigger and the person has changed. That's how I want to say it. So back then, you basically didn't have a base, let's say, to assimilate those information the same way. So therefore, it might not be the best idea to blame yourself, your past self, for the choices they made, because we have no control over it. And I know that this is very easy to say. It's much more difficult to actually see and kind of assimilate and do in our lives. However, this is something I'm also struggling with. And I've been asking myself some questions in the last few months. I'm trying in 2023 to delve a little bit deeper into the topics, because I've noticed that since a few years, I don't want to say I'm stuck in terms of self-development, but I'm seeing that there's something blocking it. I'm seeing that I'm not making so much progress so fast. And you see, again, like, this is, you can call it judgment or you can call it self-awareness. Now, there's a very fine line between these two. I think it's a lot to talk about, so we're gonna talk about it in the future videos. However, what I'm doing is not in a bad way, right? I'm just trying to gain insight into where I am at life, where I would like to be, where I believe that I can be. So it's about growth and self-acceptance. So, when I'm delving deeply into topics, then I'm just kind of losing the track of it. So what was I talking about? Tea break. Sorry, you were watching my red mug. Okay, so I can see that I am not exactly in a place I want to be, and I see that there must be something blocking me. So I start thinking, what is it that I need to change in order to progress faster? And I'm trying basically in 2023 to ask deeper questions, better questions. What I find is that if I rephrase the question I was always asking myself and ask it a little bit differently, I see that I'm coming up, my brain is coming up, even unconsciously, with different answers to these questions, and they're really opening my mind to new possibilities of why some things are happening to me, for me, with me, you name it. So it starts very slowly, and again, after some time, you're gonna get a little bit better at this and better as the time goes. And immediately I'm starting to get this feeling that, oh, if I could have started asking these deeper, better questions 1 year ago, imagine even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what if I've never been asking stupid questions, but I've been asking deep, relevant, good questions? What if I was just a better person from scratch, right? From the day I was born. And this leads us to the main question of this episode. Now, if you wouldn't be asking these stupid questions a few years ago, how would the person you are today be? Would you be the same? Definitely not. Because, you know, there are beginnings which leads to certain endings. So if you don't have that beginning, how can you be in exactly the same point in life you are now? So I think it was based on a quote or some kind of even irrelevant sentence in an article, but I started thinking about it. If I wouldn't be making the things I assume and I perceive as being small, for example, small at this very moment, if I wouldn't be making them in the past, would I be where I am today? Like, think about it. If I changed some maybe traumatic event, or maybe just something you didn't like about yourself, about your choices, if you changed that choice, that decision in the past, would you be where you are today? I mean, of course, you could be somewhere else, you could be much higher, your life could be much better, you could be way more happy and fulfilled and wise. However, you could also be much lower in life, in terms of you wouldn't be so intelligent, so wise, you wouldn't know so much that you know now. Maybe the things you realize, we're taking them for granted a little bit, because you are yourself. You are waking up in your skin every single day. You're spending 24 hours per 7 days all the time in your head, in your body. And you're sometimes, us, people in general, we're sometimes not realizing what we have. And we don't appreciate it fully. We only know how to criticize. I get this feeling somehow. Criticize others and criticize ourselves, especially. And I don't know, I'm thinking there's this whole part of life dedicated into love yourself, and it comes, of course, in different forms of expression. However, when it comes to accepting ourselves and loving ourselves, sometimes, I started loving myself, at least that's what I'm saying, since I was probably 17. This is when I decided to accept myself. I remember that day in front of the mirror. However, I'm thinking now, 6 years forward, am I actually accepting myself? And think about it, are you accepting yourself? If you're asking yourself these questions still, these questions that, oh, if you could have done that, you wouldn't be where you are today, you would be somewhere better. So if you wouldn't be where you are, if you don't want to be where you are, it means that you are completely denying the beauty of who you are now, which means that you are not accepting yourself. Because if you would be accepting and loving yourself, why would you want to change where you are? And you see, even if I'm saying all of those things now, even if I absolutely understand the importance of this thinking, I'm still making these questions and still kind of blaming my past self for things. And I'm just wondering often whether at any certain age, maybe when I'm older, when people are older, they kind of finally accept, like for real. If there is any viewers who are a little bit older than me, please let me know. Do you ever finally get to a point where you fully and truly accept yourself? Because that would be honestly beautiful and amazing to see all the available resources around you and be like, oh, I'm gonna work with what I have, not with what I wish I had. Because you can do so much more in a so much happier way like this in life. So the main point that I wanted to discuss today, so like a summary of what I was talking today, you know, if you changed a certain thing in your life in the past, like imagine we can, would you actually be in a better place now? Or would you maybe be in a worse place? And what would you do then? How would you feel if you couldn't take it back, for example, right? You changed that decision and you cannot take it back, but that's completely hypothetical. The other thing is accepting and loving ourselves. How do we actually know we are not just fooling ourselves? You know, like I'm saying I'm accepting myself and I actually think I am really doing that. I think I'm feeling it. But actually you're not. And you see how crazy are human brains that they can trick us into thinking and believing something we feel that we actually don't. And it's like this in every sphere of life, right? Especially in the relationship, I believe. So these are the questions I would like to leave you with today. To, you know, self-reflect a little bit. I think self-reflect is a very important thing, because it can lead you to great answers. You can get to know yourself much better than sometimes from listening to other things. Sorry, there's someone. I'm recording a video without cuts, okay? 2 minutes.
Right.
That happens in life, you see? Now if I started thinking that if he never came up here, maybe, that's my boyfriend, by the way. So there's no burglary, no nothing. So if he never came into that house, maybe this video would be perfect and ideal, and I would actually, I don't know, skyrocket on YouTube. And because of the fact that he came in, now this video is a complete flop. And like, oh, if I could just change that moment. You see what I'm getting to? These can be very small moments, or it can be very big decisions in life, like choosing a university or a career or the city you want to live in. Anything, it's gonna be different for everyone. So yeah, since I told him it's 2 minutes, I gotta finish up now video. Thank you so much, guys, for being here with me. Please, I think these are very important topics, so if you also feel this way, let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this blaming, self-blaming, and self-acceptance as well. Let's open a discussion, a nice and friendly discussion where we can all share our opinions, and can't wait to see you next time. Bye bye.